Hi, I'm Kamisha from Edmonton. My question for you is, how will you advocate for mental health resources for today's youth?
Question 3. How will you advocate for mental health resources for today's youth? We need to construct safe facilities for the intellectually disabled, where many still roam our streets. We encourage and will empower communities to be involved in forming volunteer organizations to examine mental health issues. For example, in Calgary, the Punjabi Community Health Services was formed to assist the Northeast community and have been very successful. We need to provide better access and funding for drug and alcohol rehabilitation. Treat drug addicts as healthcare patients, not criminals. We will require a defined period of supervised medical support to resolve the addiction.
Mental health is just as important as physical health, and every Albertan should have access to basic health care without having to pay out of pocket. Unfortunately, I'm hearing more and more from young Albertans and their families about not being able to access mental health services. Our family health teams will include mental health professionals and will provide up to 5 free mental health counseling sessions so Albertans can get the health care they deserve. We believe mental health is so critically important, and that's why our proposal is a pillar of our overall plan to deliver better public health care for Albertans.
Hi, Mary Butterworth Junior High. It's Danielle Smith here, and thanks for your question on mental health. The important work in this area has already started. We began it 4 years ago. We know that we need to protect the mental health of children and also adults. It's why we've committed a record-breaking $275 million on mental health and addiction. We've also invested into important partnerships for children and youth, including $92 million over 3 years to provide critical mental health supports for children and youth in partnership with CASA Mental Health, and made sure that all of our schools have access to mental health professionals to help kids in need. If you have any concerns, you can always dial 211 and get access to mental health support on the same day. Thanks for your question.
That's a really good question. Mental health for youth is really important, and I think there's 2 things we need to first get in the right place. First of all, mental health is health care, and it has to be part of our prevention strategy as well as our treatment strategy. I think the first of all is we have to, again, go back to those root causes. What is causing the mental health issues in our province? Our homelessness, poverty, all those kinds of things that contribute to mental health issues. I think then we have to ensure that at the school level and for kids and for their parents, that there's timely access to mental health supports, therapies, treatments, inpatient, outpatient, whatever those requirements are. And that's going to take a while to ramp up capacity, but we need to get that in place in a timely way, because one thing I've noticed is that, the longer we leave these things, the worse they get, the worse they are for the families and for the students and youth, and the worse they are for Alberta. So we've got to make a concentrated effort. The other thing we have to do is we just have to be talking about it. We have to make sure that dealing with mental health as an issue is something that all of our society and all of our communities are getting behind and supporting.
All right, Mary Butterworth Junior High, thank you for this question. How will the Green Party of Alberta advocate for mental health resources for today's youth? We have to make universal mental health care. It has to be a comprehensive part of our healthcare system, and that will ensure that everyone gets access to mental health. I'm a firefighter. I had to do some therapy for PTSD over the last year. It costs $200 an hour. That's not acceptable for people that are not covered by, for me, I was covered by WCB, but the average Albertan is not. The youth are not. So that's not acceptable. We need to ensure that access to mental health care is a priority, and we would prioritize it as a universal right.
Did you know that 70% of adults with mental illness had recognizable signs in childhood that were inadequately assessed and treated? Addressing mental health issues begins by helping our youth. Doing so only makes sense. Not only does it make people's lives better, but it also reduces costs, including long-term healthcare costs associated with mental illness and other unaddressed mental health problems like addictions, poverty, and crime. The Alberta Liberals would make significant new investments in mental health services, which previous governments have neglected. Those include making mental health services more accessible in schools, in keeping with our commitment to support preventative health care.